those that hear no the most are those that go the most. And I can't remember where I heard that. It was like 2 days ago, but I thought it was so cool. I think it was from probably some sales thing. But yeah, in sales, there's kind of a saying, go for no. And all they mean by that is basically mass calling. Don't get frustrated because you made 5 phone calls and all 5 hung up on you. Instead, twist your perspective so that you don't get fatigue. And instead go for no. Instead of going for a sale on your first call or your 100th call or your 1000th call, go for no and twist your perspective in that every time you hear no or get hung up on, that drives you. Instead of looking at it as, man, they hung up on me, I suck at this, how am I going to make my quota? I only get paid on commission, how am I going to do this? If you go for no, I think that's something that can definitely work, and I'm practicing that right now. But unfortunately in the music industry, sometimes people don't get back to you, or it takes a few weeks. It's not an instant FU like when you're telemarketing, so, or doing brand ambassador work. So the go for no is kind of an extended, it's a long-term thing where you make a good track, you think you really have something, you make sure all your socials look good and everything looks like a well-oiled machine, because it is, not just looks like, but it is a well-oiled machine. And you start sending your package, your branding, your track out to see what some of the top labels are saying, and the second tier labels and third tier labels will say to you about it. And if they don't respond, let that drive you. Let it just completely fuel you, because here's the thing I want you to remember. Claude Von Stroke comes to mind. There's nothing that's stopping you, whether you hear yes or no, because you don't have to sign just because somebody really likes your track. You could start your own brand. You know? Why can't you have an electro label based around sci-fi? Or kind of, you know, like Claude Von Stroke kind of has like a camping barbecue thing going on. Why can't you start some kind of anime UK hardcore thing? You know, or whatever. An anime future-based kind of thing where, you know, your fan base is super into dressing up and cosplay and future base, or like whatever it might be. So all I'm saying is, like, don't be afraid to fund your own dreams. If record labels are telling you no, it may not be no because your tracks suck, or because your mix down wasn't right, or your master was just, you know, a little lower than a commercial production. I mean, you know, I have heard of people getting weird and not getting signed for stuff like that, but I've also heard of people not getting signed because it just doesn't fit the record label's brand. Even though the label is bass house and you send them a bass house track, it just may not be their kind of bass house, and that's okay, because, you know, you can take that and say, well, I really like this style of bass house even though they didn't sign it, so I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to start throwing my own local parties. You know, I know a guy in Fort Lauderdale who has made a living out of sound rentals, and basically where he started was throwing small parties, raves, booking local DJs, real modest setup. It was not industry standard at all, but he grew it. And the thing is, the cute, you know, girls that were coming around going to these raves, and all of our buddies who were going to them too, they didn't care. It didn't matter that CDJ 2000s weren't in the DJ booth, you know, because he had the crowd. And those people couldn't even see the DJ booth and what was in there anyways. The DJ booth was suspended 6 feet above them. So my point of saying that is he grew that, you know, a couple of local raves into bigger parties, and then booking bigger talent, and then expanding his business into weddings and corporate events. And you should see his warehouse. He's got LED walls out the wazoo, and more than enough CDJs for multiple stages now. And I mean, the guy has completely blown it out. He needs a whole warehouse to hold his stuff, and lasers and rental trucks and all kinds of craziness. You know, ladders and cranes for scaffolding to like set up really elaborate lighting things. But my point of that is, like, he's a good DJ, and basically there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, you know, this guy rarely produces and he doesn't have any big labels, under his belt, but he opens up for all kinds of top tier tech house talent that come to town. And sometimes he's the one who books them, and other times he's not, but he makes a darn good living, and he's never been in the Beatport Top 100. So it's just something to consider as you move forward, and to try to help you not get discouraged.